I'd now like to welcome Fraser Nelson.
Now, if David Cameron doesn't confront Europe, he will very quickly find the limits of his power, the extent to which the hands of a British Prime Minister are now tied by Brussels. And everything from giving anonymous evidence in the murder trial. I mean, Jack Straw says he wants a review of this, not realising again that this is a Strasbourg thing. I mean, Europe has done very, very well in keeping up the illusion that we are far more self-governing than we are. I mean, opposite the House of Parliament, there's this big building called the Supreme Court of the United Kingdom. But the Supreme Court of the United Kingdom isn't in London, it's in Strasbourg, and the Conservatives will find that very, very quickly. One of David Cameron's policies is to reduce the rate of VAT on small businesses and give them a VAT holiday. Now, it's strange that they don't instinctively know, as people of another generation would know, that VAT is an EU tax introduced to us by Brussels under very strict regulations laid down by a directive which was renewed only 2 or 3 years ago. It is not ours to change. We don't have the power to do this, and yet the Conservatives genuinely don't seem to realise. Now, of the other thing, Cameron wants to have abolished school expulsion tribunals. I mean, it's a great idea if a school wants to abolish, if a school wants to expel a chap and, the parents can argue in a tribunal and reverse the decision of the school. It's not very satisfactory. But if you talk to any of the many European lawyers around this country, they will tell you that that any attempt to abolish a school tribunal would be kicked out by Strasbourg immediately. These things have got their tentacles in our law in more ways than we begin to realise, because this Labour government has done such a fantastic job of concealing it when they get into government and try to do everything from VAT changes to school expulsion tribunals to all these things, and then we'll find that they can't because we signed away that sovereignty some time ago. David Cameron's main wish for Europe, I suspect, is that it would just go away, that nobody would ever mention it again. Europe is hugely a matter of national importance, yet the Conservatives are still in therapy. I work in the world of Westminster, and the great thing about the News of the World column is that these are the people who decide British elections, and they are more Eurosceptic than us in this room. It's strange, there is a mismatch in British politics between the British public opinion and the Westminster consensus. There is an anti-politics vibe out there, which UKIP could harness if it catches the wind. And the public opinion is brought to the door of Westminster by, well, I would say mavericks like Stuart Wheeler, but he is not a maverick. He is straight from the mainstream of what they think in the real world. And the great thing about him giving his donation to UKIP is that it places at the back of the minds of the Conservative leadership, if we don't watch it, we're going to lose all our votes to UKIP. So it is possible to be a loyal Conservative and to wish UKIP well, because as James Goldsmith absolutely worked out, there has to be an electoral price to pay if you slip too much into the Westminster stream. My News of the World readers really could not care less about what group the Conservative MEPs sit in the European Parliament. And this is what they are more concerned about, is why their bins aren't being emptied once a week like they used to be, and the answer to that is the EU Landfill Directive. It's strange how so many of the arguments that really genuinely irritates my News of the World readers day to day have their roots back in the EU. There is such discontent with all of our political parties. And again, the main political affiliation of my News of the World readers, I do talk about them a lot because they are, they represent the public far more than, I hate to say, my dearly beloved Spectator readers, who are pretty much sold in all of this. But when they think about this, again, they are emphatically against it, but they would probably vote for UKIP because they want a protest vote. They don't believe that the man with the blue rosette is going to serve them any better than the man with the red rosette.
To find out more about who we are and what we stand for, go to the UK Independence Party website at www.ukip.org.